Hey witches, how you doing today? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Taya, and today I want to talk a little bit about evaluating witchcraft information, a little bit about critical thinking. I think we are having this great influx of new witches, which is excellent. I love it. And they're being called in through social media, which again, totes legit. I mean, how many people back in the 90s were kind of attracted into witchcraft because they watched The Craft, the movie, right? Like, it's kind of the same thing. So I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's good, but I think we need to talk a little bit about how to go from a TikTok informed witch to having a real balanced witchcraft practice. Those are not the same things. And unfortunately, I'm not convinced that you can build a whole witchcraft practice off TikTok. There are some very good creators on TikTok. Like, I'm not trying to slag the whole platform, but I think for the most part, a lot of it is, well, we'll get into it. So what it boils down to is critical thinking, which is a huge ask. So I just want to go over 3 points that I think are sort of key to this critical thinking and building this witchcraft practice. First of all is question everything. Second of all is use broad research channels. And third is use reputable sources. So we're going to go through, they kind of all interlap. We'll go through them each, all right? So the first part is question everything. So the first thing we need to question is the creator or the author, if we're looking at written work, the creator or the author themselves. What is their point of view? Where are they coming from? What's their tradition? What are their influences? Because just because somebody's talking witchcraft doesn't necessarily mean it's the brand of witchcraft, the tradition of witchcraft that we want to practice. If you don't want to practice Wicca, then you need to evaluate your sources and make sure they're not feeding you Wicca. What are the author's credentials? Which is really hard, right? There is no central witchcraft authority who determines who is and is not credible. But we have to look at how long have they been practicing. What is their experience level? We also have to take a look at what's in it for the content creator. What's in it for the author? This is especially true on channels like TikTok, where it's all about getting followers and likes for social media clout and maybe, joining their creator fund and getting paid a little extra. People will do whatever is trendy to get that clout, to become an influencer, to make some money. Your number of TikTok followers or your number of subscribers on YouTube does not equate to your level of witchcraft experience. What it means, if you have a high follower or subscriber count, it means that you're good at content creation. You're good at putting together images and words and text and filters and music overlays that evoke just the right feelings in your viewers that they want more. And so they will subscribe or follow so that they can get more of what you're offering. It's not necessarily because you have good or credible content, the actual, what you're physically saying. It's that your presentation is phenomenal. So we have to look at, did they actually do the work? Is this person actually a witch? How long have they been a witch for? Do they have any personal experience? It's really easy to read a book and then regurgitate back what you learned from that book. It doesn't mean that you ever did any of the exercises yourself. So we also have to evaluate who they are. We also have to evaluate what they are saying. So are they speaking from personal experience, right? Again, how credible are they? What evidence have they provided to establish their credibility? Are they providing references, like in an article or a blog or a book where they provide references? Or are they just giving you an info meme? Are they just sharing the latest thing to make the rounds? My favorite, this just gets me every time, is the all-purpose items, how you can substitute quartz for any crystal, rosemary for any herb, rose for any flower, frankincense for any oil. I'm sorry, says who? Where's your resource on that? There is no resource on that. It's just something somebody made up sometime and said, hey, this is cool, let's pass this around. But where's the where's the reference on that? If you have a reference on that, please post it in the comments below. I really, really want to know where that came from. Because again, just because somebody says it on the internet doesn't make it true. So yeah, again, are they providing references? Are they providing a bibliography, right? If you're working with written work, is there bibliography where you can actually trace back the work? Oh, these are the sources from which the author got their information. Then I can go read those and like, oh, these authors got their information from those sources. So then I go read those sources and I'm kind of going back through till I find those sort of primary sources. If there are no references, which is predominantly the case on social media, if there is no reference, do your own research. Just because somebody says it on the internet doesn't make it true. Even if they've got just the right music and just the right filter and they've got a fancy intro and a fancy outro and they've got, over 100,000 subscribers, doesn't mean it's true just because they're saying it. So, we have to question everything. And it's really about going back and trying to find those sources, finding those references that corroborate the information we're being fed. The second point is we need to work with broad research channels. So different mediums of information, different types of media. So TikTok and Instagram, that's where a lot of people come in, and that's great. But TikTok and Instagram are designed for dopamine hits. I watch it, I feel good, I want to watch more of it. So it's really hard to get the depth and breadth of information that you're going to need for an entire witchcraft practice off of just TikTok and Instagram. So maybe we go then to YouTube, right? It's got a deeper format, like a longer format content. You can dive a little bit deeper. It's more designed for sharing ideas. But again, what shows up in the algorithm on YouTube is typically the people who are good at content production, not necessarily good at the information itself. So then we can move into still on the internet, but blogs and articles, right? Again, they're longer format and you tend to get more in-depth thinking when people are actually having to write down what they're talking about. It takes a little bit more effort, right? And I find you tend to start getting into people actually citing references. And then finally, we move into books. Now, here's why I love books. The authors are already vetted. Now, you still need to do your own research. I am not saying that just because somebody has a book deal, they are super credible. But they're more likely to be credible than Joe Blow on TikTok. Most people aren't going to go, if they're just effing around for clout, they're not going to go to the level of trying to write and publish a book. So typically, if you find they're published through a publishing house, not necessarily self-published, but through a publishing house, those authors have been vetted. Now, how do you know if you have a credible book? Rule number 1, resource list or bibliography. Again, so you can go and do more research to support what you're learning. Basically, you have to grow past just TikTok and Instagram and get into more written work. Now, written work can be presented orally, right? You can still get audiobooks and that kind of an idea, right? And those audiobooks will list the bibliography, the references, so you can kind of go ahead and, again, do a little bit of deeper research. So we want to get into broad research channels, right? We don't want to just stick to one medium. And then finally, we need to get into using reputable sources. So we've kind of touched on this, right? Question everything. Where's the author's point of view and their background? Do they have the experience? Have they demonstrated knowledge? We talked about how books are most likely to be somewhat credible as the authors have been vetted. We've talked about having information with references. And if it doesn't have references, doing your own supporting research. We've talked about having multiple channels of information, right? Broad research channels. But I would also argue that there's some credibility when creators or authors have multiple channels of information. So we look at Keldon, Laura Tempest Zakroff, Thorn Mooney. There's some very well-known They are authors. They are YouTubers. I know Thorn Mooney is on TikTok, and they all have Pathos blogs. So again, they've got multiple channels for their information. People who are credible who are credible and drawn to teaching and sharing, right? Again, tend to sort of flock to having different types of media available. So that's something else you can look for, right? I mean, it doesn't necessarily guarantee somebody's going to be credible, but it kind of ups the ante a little bit. And again, we can do historical research on the information itself. So, I mean, yes, doing our own research, but what you can do is if you're going to read a book, look for book reviews. If you're on YouTube or TikTok, look for like VRs, virtual responses, or right, people make like video reply comments and stuff. Read what's in the comment section, right? And don't just read the first 5, like actually delve down, see what are people saying. Are people saying like, oh yeah, totally, oh my gosh, this seems legit? Or are people like, wait a minute, what's your source on that? So those can be some good ways to help evaluate and make sure you have a reputable source. Finally, what you need to do, to figure out if it's a reputable source, is evaluate the literal words they are saying. Don't be swayed by fancy editing and catchy intros and witchy music overlays and filters. Just because watching something makes you feel witchy doesn't mean it's credible witchcraft information. So I hope that helps a little bit in evaluating, right? What kind of, sort of evaluating and using some critical thinking skills to really start building an actual witchcraft practice. It's kind of my soapbox on critical thinking, if you will. So what are your thoughts? Did I miss anything? I'm sure I did. What else can we offer to people who are looking to kind of get past TikTok and start really working on building a credible practice? Leave us a comment. I'd love to know what you all have to say. And otherwise, yeah, that's our video for today. We'll catch you in the next one.